A man-made disaster wiped out dozens of homes near Apalachicola just about 4 months ago. And the victims have a warning that they say the same thing could happen to you.
And their attorneys say that it could cost state taxpayers an absolute fortune. Fox 13's Craig Patrick drove to North Florida to investigate in tonight's We the People.
I was never been so scared in my life, never.
Gene and Earl Butler took these pictures in late June as the storm clouds rolled in. And then they realized those aren't storm clouds. A wall of flames had already chewed through dozens of homes near the Apalachicola Bay.
He came out and got the hose and thought he was going to put the fire out.
I was going to try it, but I seen I couldn't do that with it.
Yeah, he was spraying water on it, and I said, Earl, we got to leave.
Here's what's left of their car repair business, and their rental properties, and their lawn business. Your shop.
My shop?
Yeah.
It was right here.
Where we're standing? Yeah, the big shop was right here.
Amanda Hall lived in one of their rental properties.
My home was right here.
She had to run through flaming grass in sandals with a flaming pine cone stuck to her leg.
I sat in my car and just cried. My lowest moment was when I came back here and saw my home.
The blaze wiped out her home and 3 dozen others in the town of Eastpoint. And the victims say we better pay attention because many of those victims could not afford insurance, and state taxpayers could wind up paying for it, and it could happen again.
The people better stand up and notice that you don't have the protection that you think you do.
State officials know who caused the fire. They did. The state hired a contractor to burn stuff in the woods so a fire would not burn through the woods.
As a part of a, quote, controlled, end quote, burn.
That's the victim's first problem. The state's controlled burn grew out of control, causing the kind of disaster they were trying to prevent. And then the victims discovered the state's requirements or lack of requirements for the contractor's insurance. That's their second problem.
They did have an umbrella policy, but it had an exclusion in it for controlled and prescribed burns.
Meaning it doesn't pay out if the damage is caused by a fire.
Correct.
A company that burns things for a living.
Correct.
Even if it was liable, it wouldn't have had the insurance policy to cover a fraction of this.
That's exactly right. It's absurd.
We don't know if the contractor hired for this controlled burn was negligent or liable. The fire is still under investigation. But we do know that may not even matter because of their third problem. The legislature passed a law that protects a negligent contractor, if there's negligence, from the victims?
That's exactly right.
5 years ago, state lawmakers changed the language of the burn law, removing the requirement that burn piles be, quote, properly extinguished, requiring contractors to, quote, complete their burns instead. And they added a line stating that a contractor is not liable for damage or injury if fire smolders or reignites. And neither is the State Forest Service.
So we're just screwed.
The legislature watered down protections for fire victims by bundling it into a bill promoting good nutrition in school lunch. Vote against it, and you vote against nutrition for our kids. And so the changes passed 39-0 in the Senate and 115-0 in the House.
This is crap. It's pure crap that nobody wants to help us.
Amanda and her neighbors are certainly blunt, but they're also suffering.
I'm down to this. I'm in a 4. I used to be in a 14, 16.
Amanda is also fighting cancer. In the past 2 months, you've lost 45 pounds.
Yep.
And her attorney, Pat Floyd, says if they cannot recover losses from the contractor, the burden goes back to the state.
The taxpayers.
Meaning we'll all get burned by this disaster, or the state will successfully argue it's immune, leaving the families of Eastpoint to get burned yet again.
I mean, we worked our butt off for what we have. And now we just, hanging by a thread.